Welcome to lecture 1 on module 3 of computer organization, in which we will be discussing about accessing IO devices along with the corresponding hardware as well as the buffer registers, in which we will discuss about detailed IO operations and the interrupts associated with it. In this particular slide, we will look into the accessing of IO devices. So here, a simple arrangement to connect the IO device to a computer is to use a single bus arrangement. However, we had discussed about the single bus arrangement where all the blocks of the computer system are connected using a single bus arrangement. The bus enables all the devices connected to it to exchange the information. Here, the information between the multiple devices, that may be we have processor, we have a memory, we have IO device, and there are multiple IO devices. So the data exchange between the IO device and the processor, or IO device and the memory, takes place using a single bus. So typically it consists of three sets of lines, that is one to carry the address. We have address bus, we have data bus, and the control signal. Data bus and the control line, or control signal we call it as. So now this address bus holds the address of the data that is being accessed, whereas the data bus carries the data. So a single bus will have three bus arrangement. This single bus will be arranged into three different lines, one carrying the address, the other carrying the data, and the other carrying a control signal. When IO devices and the memory share the same address space, the arrangement is called as the memory mapped IO. That is, suppose we have a memory location, and in that memory location we have a particular address. If this address corresponds to IO device, then this also corresponds to a memory. It also has a address space. Just a minute. Let us assume we have one memory location, for example 0x200. All that, let me take this address as an example. If this same address corresponds to the IO device, and it also corresponds to some memory, and this kind of arrangement is called as the memory mapped IO, in memory mapped input output. That means that for example you will load some value 20h in this particular address, that is 0x200. So if you load this with 200, and if the corresponding control signal is to read the data from memory, then this if for let me assume this IO address, this address 200 corresponds to input device 1. Now this data will reflect in the input device 1. For example, if you have let me take, we have 8 pins at the device 1. It is connected to LED. Now if you transfer, if you load 20 to 0x200h, then this 20 gets reflected in these LEDs as a binary form. 20 means 2, that is 0 0 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 0. This means that only this particular pin that is connected to LED, that particular LED will glow, rest of them will be in off state. That indicates the content that is present in the memory. This is how memory mapped input output works. You don't need to have a separate instruction to copy the data that is present in the memory location. Instead, as soon as you load the data to that particular memory, that is memory map to IO, then the same value gets reflected in the input output device as well. As we discussed in our previous slide, the memory mapped IO, any machine instruction that can access the memory can be used to transfer the data to and from the IO device. We no need to have a special instruction to perform the IO transfer. That means whatever the data that you load in a memory that is mapped to the IO device, that automatically gets reflected in the IO device. For example, if the data in is the address of the input buffer associated with the keyboard, then move data in comma R0. The move data in is the input register buffer comma R0. Here this is particularly for this is the input register. This is a IO instruction. Here what happens is the data that is present in data in is copied to the processor register R0. Similarly, if the designer or a computer one who designs the computer system, then he has the two options. Either he can go for sophisticated IO transfer operation instructions such as in and out. Most of the computers will have in and out operations, whereas either he can go with this or he can use the memory mapped IOs. There are two options. In case of memory mapped IOs, it does not require any kind of specific input instructions or output instructions, whereas similar to this in and out in most of the processors. Whereas in case of memory map, you need to directly load the data to the memory that is pointed by the or dedicated for IO. So there is no sophisticated, or it is not required to have a sophisticated instruction that performs the IO operations. As soon as you load here, the data gets reflected. So a special signal on the bus indicates that the requested read or write transfer is an IO operation. The control signal, as we discussed earlier, we have address bus, data bus, and the control signal. The control signal performs the major role of transferring the data, whether it is IO transfer or any other transfer, that will be indicated by the signals that are coming from the processor into the various devices. These control signals will specify what type of operation it has to perform, either read or write. Based on that, the processor performs a particular task. The figure in this slide shows the hardware arrangements that are required to perform the IO operations. So here we have address decoder, we have control circuits, we have data and status registers, and we have this is the IO interface. We have address lines, data lines, and control lines. This entire thing are grouped together to form a bus arrangement. So now next is the input device. The input device is connected to the control circuitry and data and the status register. The address decoder enables the device to recognize its address when this address appears on the address line. So what happens is in the address line, if for example if you want to transfer the data from one particular location, then the address of that particular location will be present in the address bus. As soon as this address, for example 0x200, is present in the address bus, that means that either the data has to be stored in this particular address, or it has to be retrieved from this particular address. That will be indicated by the control circuits. In the control signal, the data register holds the data to be transferred to and from the processor. So what happens is, as soon as the control circuit, in the control circuit, whether it is will mention whether it has to read or write the data. read or write the data. That will be generated by the control signals. Now if the address is 0x, you will have a memory location. You will have you will have a memory location. For example, let me take this. You have a memory location. You this is 0x2000. Now you need to for example write the data here. At that case, in the control line, you need to send the read signal. You need to load, that is write. You need to send the write signal. What you need to write? For example, 25. Let me assume 25. Now the address is 0x200. The signal is write and the data bus will have 25. Now what happens is, as soon as this gets executed, the data that is present in the data line that is 25 will be loaded to the address pointed by the address bus, that is 0x200. Now this 0x200 will be returned to 0x200 will be loaded with the value 25, because we have given the option write. Similarly, if you give the read command to the control signal, it will read the data that is present in the 0x200. By default, let us assume that previously, before executing this instruction, in the address 0x200 you have the data 50h. Now if you continue with the same instruction, where you need to you have loaded 0x200 to the address line, 25 to the data line, and if you have written the right signal to the control through the control lines, then this 50 here will be replaced by 25. The reason is because the signal in the control line is write. If it is read, then the data line gets erased and the new value, that is 50, will be loaded in the data bus. Once it is read, it will be copied to the some of the processor register, or the destination file, or the destination whatever the destination register is there. To that particular register, the data that is present in the data line will be loaded. In this way, the transfer of data takes place. Both the data and status register are connected to the data bus and assign the unique address. To both the data and the status register, we have two different registers, data register and the status register, that we had discussed earlier, that is S in, S out, as well as data in and data out. We have discussed about these things in very detail in the previous slides or the previous video lectures. So these both these registers, the data in, data out, as well as S in, S out, are assigned with the unique address that will be present in this particular block. This is responsible for data in register, data out register, as well as the S in and S out are present here. We have already discussed about the importance of S in, S out, data in and data out. The blocks whatever we had discussed in our previous slide has the sole purpose of transferring the data between this source location and the destination location. So all these devices, it will address decoder, the data bus, address data registers, status registers, circuit control circuits, all these has to coordinate together so that efficient transfer of data takes place. And this constitute a device interface circuit. The entire set of all these blocks are considered as the interface circuit. So these IO devices, we know that they are operating at the speeds that are vastly different from that of the processor. The processors will be executing at very high speed in terms of the frequency, since the frequency or the crystal oscillator that is connected to these microprocessors or the computer systems are operating at in the speed of megahertz. So the processor will be operating at very high speed, whereas the IO devices may not be operating at the same speed as the processor, nor the some of the interfaces, display devices, or some of the printing devices. So when an human operator enters the character at the keyboard, the processor is capable of executing the millions of instructions between the successive character entries. So what has to happen is, in such cases, there should be an intermediate register that holds the data that is being pressed by the user, and this will be loaded into an buffer register, and from the buffer register it will be processed by the processor. If there is no input buffer registers, what happens is, by the time the user finishes pressing a single character, it will be displayed multiple times on the display device, since the processor, or while reading, the processor reads multiple entries. To avoid that, we have input buffer. This will hold the data that is being pressed in the keyboard, and the data that is present in the input buffer is processed using some device, and it will be converted into a other form which can be displayed on the display device.